Hello, thank you for joining me for our last and final topic in our 4-part relationship series. Now, today we are going to be covering codependency in relationships. Let's get into it. Hi, my name is Kelly Anderson. Let's talk about codependency in relationships, what it is, signs to identify whether or not you're in a codependent relationship, and finally, how do you get through it? This is often a deep-rooted topic, and there certainly is no quick fix. I honestly encourage you to seek out therapy if you're in a codependent relationship, but I will do my very best to touch on it and help you as much as I can today. So let's define codependency. Codependency, in a nutshell, is an extensive emotional reliance on a partner or a friend. It's a mutually dependent kind of relationship. The best way for me to describe codependency is that on one hand, you may be horribly annoyed that you have to do so many things for your partner. But on the other hand, you almost feel like you have to do these things in order to feel needed and to show your worth in a relationship. You may even feel you need to do these things in order to even keep your partner. So that's kind of the definition of what a codependent relationship looks like. The problem is, too much dependency can lead you to feeling needy and desperate, and that can result in a toxic relationship, much like the one you're probably experiencing. So how do you know if you're in a codependent relationship? Well, I've got some questions for you, and if you answer yes to the majority of these questions, you're more than likely in a codependent relationship. So here's the first one. Are you exhausted and sometimes annoyed by the amount that this person relies on you? Do you find yourself doing things that you normally wouldn't do just to hold on to that relationship? Do you need constant reassurance that you're loved and accepted in this relationship? Are you doing things for your partner that they really could do themselves? Do you often feel responsible for solving all of your partner's problems? Do you put your partner first, regardless of your own needs? And are you providing so much support to your partner that they have gotten so comfortable with you taking on the majority of the responsibility that even though you may be annoyed and exhausted, you don't even try to set limits to encourage them to change and be more responsible for their own things? Do you find it difficult to say no to your partner? Do you feel insecure in the relationship that perhaps if you say no, they'll leave you? Do you try your best to avoid conflict? You feel like maybe if somehow you disagree with your partner, they may leave the relationship? Do you have an overwhelming sense of guilt if you don't do what your partner wants you to do? Do you find yourself often giving gifts and doing favors for people in order for them to like you? Lastly, do you find yourself being overly apologetic, even though what happens may not even be your fault? If you've said yes to the majority of those questions, you might be finding yourself in a codependent relationship. So what causes codependency in a relationship? Well, issues of codependency can stem from unresolved issues in your childhood, such as abandonment or not getting enough care, love, and attention, or perhaps as a child you just simply didn't feel heard. And then this plays out as an adult because you are constantly seeking the approval of someone else, and you feel like if you do more for them, and the more that you do for them, and the more that you're needed, the more that you are valuable. Here's the problem. If you continue in this codependent kind of relationship, your needs, not their needs, your needs won't get met. And if you continue to take on the bulk of the responsibility for your partner, then you're preventing them from being a fully capable adult. Keep in mind, all of these behaviors that you're doing, they're only a band-aid for your self-esteem. Right now, you may gain some self-esteem from the fact that you feel needed by your partner. However, this is not sustainable. You can't keep going like this. You're going to end up feeling exhausted from doing everything and resentful, which will ultimately not help your relationship. So as much as you're thinking that this is a good thing, you're not doing your relationship any favors. And quite frankly, neglecting your own needs can lead to anxiety and depression. It can also lead you to being passively aggressive to try to get what you want. And that's not healthy either. What are some steps that you can take in order to cope in this codependent relationship? Well, first, I need you to start by taking an honest look at this relationship. Sit down and list out the ways that you and your partner are dependent on one another. Once you have that list, write for each thing, is this healthy or is this unhealthy? Because, for example, it may be nice for you to cook dinner for your husband, but is this something that he is now expecting for you to do and gets frustrated and angry with you if you don't do it? Are you cooking dinner because this is something you want to do, this is your way of showing love? Or are you cooking dinner because it is expected of you and you fear that if you do not cook this dinner and serve him his plate every night, that somehow he's going to feel like you're not worth having around and you're useless in this relationship and he won't want to be with you anymore? Then I want you to think about all the beliefs that you had as a child around being valued and how those beliefs may play into your behavior as an adult. Did you feel heard? Did you feel like your feelings were respected and honored? Did you feel comfortable with expressing yourself as a child? Next, it would be helpful if you acknowledge and identify times that you are engaging in those codependent behaviors. So maybe the next time that someone asks you to do something, before you head on out the gate to go save the day, I need you to ask yourself, is this something that I really want to do? Or am I doing this because I have a need to be needed? Or are you doing this because you think that if you don't do it, this person won't like you anymore? So the first step is to just identify, just make sure you understand what patterns you have, because you can't change anything if you don't know what's going on. You see, if you are exhibiting codependent behaviors and someone asks you to do something, even if you're tired, even if you have no desire to do whatever it is they're asking, you will do it. That is how you determine whether or not what you're doing is from a genuine place or from a place of codependency. Next, it's important to validate your feelings. If you weren't heard as a child and your feelings weren't validated, it's important for you to change that dynamic as an adult. Start validating your feelings. So if you're angry about the fact that you have to serve him his dinner when he really could have did it himself, state to yourself, I'm angry about that. Identify the feeling you have, what emotion you are experiencing, and then let yourself know that it's okay for you to have that feeling. Half the battle is understanding that everybody has the right to feel however they want to feel. The other person may not like it, they may not embrace it, but you certainly have the right to feel and to have whatever emotion you are experiencing. So each time something comes up, I need you to first state the feeling that you have around that situation, because you've got to identify your feelings and then give yourself permission to have that emotion. The next thing that will be helpful for you, because you've now wrapped yourself up in this dependent relationship, is to start learning how to be independent. So spend some time alone with your friends and family without your partner. Here's the thing, your happiness is your responsibility. It's no one else's responsibility to make you happy. So if you don't like your situation, you're going to have to take steps to change your situation. And I get it. It's scary because you can't anticipate how your partner is going to respond. Now you're pushing back on things that you used to willingly just go ahead and do without question. But hey, at some point, you're going to have to get comfortable with telling people what you want and how you feel, regardless of their reaction. Now, if you've landed yourself in a codependent relationship, that if you spoke up, it will result in you being hurt, please seek emergency services. On the screen, you'll notice a telephone number. This is the number for the National Domestic Violence Hotline, where you will find confidential assistance from trained advocates. So please seek help if you are a victim of domestic violence. However, if you are not in an abusive relationship and you just want to be more assertive within this codependent relationship and change this ship around, then you have to understand it's going to be uncomfortable and you're going to get some pushback when you begin asserting yourself, because people aren't going to be used to the new you. They're not going to be used to this person that now has opinions and thoughts and feelings. And that's okay for you to have those things. You are entitled, honey. You are important. You are very, very important. And the world needs to know just how important you are. When you are ready, assuming you are not in an abusive relationship and the relationship you are in is not violent, share with your partner your thoughts and doubts and things that you've learned about yourself while you're going through this process, and get their feedback. Start having a conversation about how each of you can increase your independence in this relationship while still supporting each other. Now try to keep in mind during this conversation with your partner that the feedback that you're going to receive is only their opinion. It doesn't define who you are as an individual. Everyone is entitled to opinion. So they might say something, but it doesn't mean you have to take it as gold and the truth. It's just their opinion. This is why I think it's so important for you to do the work on your own self-esteem prior to having this kind of conversation, because you're going to need that guff and that strength within, that when they say something and give you feedback, you don't internalize that, because they're going to be defensive, because they're not used to the new you. They ain't used to that at all. They're used to you bowing down, and those days are over. So now look, the real work will come in once you're able to recognize those patterns, you're able to state how you feel and acknowledge your feelings. The next step is a little more difficult, because you're going to now need to set boundaries with other people in your life, and you may need some assistance to do that. So if you need assistance in setting boundaries, please get yourself a life coach or get yourself a therapist. They can help you set boundaries. There's plenty of support out there if you're ready and willing to change. They can assist you with learning how to get comfortable with being assertive and being able to confidently say no, as well as how to practice asking for what you need and what you want. At the end of the day, in order for you to break the cycle, each person that's involved in this relationship will need to take responsibility for their own feelings and remind each other that they, and only they, are in control of their emotions and their own behaviors. Is it possible to save a codependent relationship? Yes, it is possible. However, doing that requires both partners to be open-minded and willing to work on the issues. This can be a challenging process, but it can also be very life-changing if everyone is willing to do the work. However, if you find that your partner is unwilling to change, then you may need to consider ending this relationship. And if you do so, it is very important for you to get professional help to address the issues of dependency, because if you don't, you're going to carry those dependency issues right on into the very next relationship that you decide to get into. Don't get into a new relationship until you've worked out all your issues of dependency. You don't want to take that mess into your new relationship. As always, I wish you the very best as you take on the responsibility for your feelings and recognizing that you are worthy of the love that you receive. Now be safe and treat yourself kindly. See you next Thursday.